Hi friends! Right, in this video I'm going to be talking about how I've basically filmed all my YouTube videos. So let's get started. Right, so I've been making videos for about 9 months now. I basically started on December 25th in 2021. When I first started, I used to actually post 2 videos every week, but now I've gotten a bit slower and now I just post 1 video a week. Right, so let's start where every YouTube video starts. YouTube videos start with an idea. Now, when I first started making YouTube videos, I had an idea to make programming videos, and this was because of another YouTuber called The New Boston, and he has made a lot of programming videos which were very helpful to many people. So I tried and copy some of his videos. So he made Java programming videos, and I tried to make my own Java playlist essentially. And making programming videos was fun and all that, but I also wanted to talk about university. But for that, I kind of needed to show my face essentially, because you can't just look at the screen when I'm talking about university essentially. So I then started making videos which involves a camera, and I'll say at least 3/4 of all my videos, the titles are titles which have been used before from other people. For example, I make videos talking about studying, and I talk about apps which I have on my phone and on my laptop and all that, and these titles are not very unique. They've been used by many YouTubers before. But even though the titles have been used before, the information which is in my videos, it's kind of mixed from my personal experience to stuff which I've read. So maybe books which I've read, or articles which I've read, and maybe from other YouTubers as well essentially. And now let me talk about how I think of the ideas for my YouTube videos. Right, so when I first started making YouTube videos, most of my ideas come from when I'm showering. And when I'm showering, I just think about what can I talk about in my next YouTube video and stuff like that essentially. But I can't say that all the time. Ideas come from everywhere, and there's a lot of ideas which can come to me, but most of the time I would just reject all of the ideas because it doesn't fit into my YouTube channel in some way. And it takes quite some time for me to think of an idea essentially. And honestly, I have to think for another idea for my next video after this, and I have to think of that in the next 7 days, and I literally have no idea what's my next video gonna be. Right, so after I have an idea, I now basically have to write some points for the idea essentially. And I basically have a database in Notion where I basically just call it YouTube, and it's basically a table with tons of pages with all of my YouTube videos that I've made. And inside each page, I have paragraphs of points which I'm going to talk about in my videos essentially. So what I do is just I put on my earphones, listen to some Spotify for 1970s music, or maybe just instrumentals. And since I really have an idea, it's much simpler now because I can just type anything I want essentially. But it's not really a script form. It's mostly just points which I'll just talk about essentially. And I think it's quite liberating to just write all of my points essentially, because I just write and I just don't stop essentially, because my writing doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be in a proper essay form, that doesn't need to be good grammar and all that. It's just writing anything I want essentially, which is just kind of liberating. And after I get all of my points and get everything done, now it's time for me to actually record my video. And I think for some people who has been keeping up with the channel, I think some of you would know that I'm a bit of a cheap person essentially. I read PDFs of book instead of actually buying a book, and I listen to audiobooks by actually going onto YouTube. And basically the camera which I'm using now, which is actually called a Canon EOS 700D, it's actually quite an old camera which my sister actually used, and she just passed it on to me. I think it's kind of a meh camera, to be honest. It's definitely not the best out there, and I basically have no lighting. And the only lighting I've used is actually just this room light, which is on top on the ceiling. So that is why I think the shadow is a bit weird. The only thing which I've actually bought for my YouTube channel is this mic, which I'm using right now. It's called a Blue Yeti microphone, and it's quite a classic for YouTubers, to be honest. I think the audio is very clean and it's very nice. The only thing which I don't really like about the mic is that there's this little screws on the side of the mic, and sometimes they can get loose. So make sure you just tighten up those screws essentially. And the Blue Yeti is good because you can adjust the gain, so you can adjust the audio which is going to be outputted essentially. And there's 4 settings in this mic, so you can either listen to audio right in front. You can also talk to the mic on the side, and there's also one setting which is omnidirectional, so it's basically a 360 audio field essentially, and it's quite nice. And I think there's also another mic called the Rode mic, and that is a mic where you actually put it on top of the camera, and it's quite useful for outdoor kind of stuff. So if you want to do outdoors recording, I think that mic is quite useful. And like all of my audio actually gets recorded in OBS Studio, which is a cool app to record everything. And it basically processes everything and stores it into an MKV file, but you can also change it to an MP4 file. Now this part is going to get a bit confusing. I'm going to be talking about cameras, aperture, shutter speed and all that. Now I basically have an f4.5 aperture on my camera, and all of my YouTube videos are basically 25 frames per second, and the shutter speed is 1/50. It's generally good to have your shutter speed twice the amount in your frame per second. So if your frame per second is 25, it should be like 1/50. If your frame per second is like 60, then your shutter speeds are like 1/120. I think it's a general rule in like cameras or something like that. So basically what I do is just I would autofocus my camera, and that would like adjust my aperture and it'll adjust my ISO and all that, but I just have to manually say 25 frames per second and like 1/50 shutter speed, that's all. But other than that, everything is just auto adjusted. And like my camera is just basically like an arm's length from me. This is like an arm's length to me, and it's an arm's length because when I make YouTube videos, I basically have to autofocus, so autofocus onto my face. But like my camera, if I just leave it in autofocus and move my hands all of the time, it will start to like get out of focus and then autofocus again and get out of focus and then autofocus again, and it's quite annoying. So usually what I do is just autofocus it and then just press the off button to stop autofocusing, and I have to be an arm's length to actually press it, and then only like everything which I'm doing right now is on manual focus. So I have to be an arm's length to actually like turn off the autofocus essentially. And I think that is why this won't be the best camera. But yeah, like that is why my videos are always like an arm's length from me. And like when I first started making YouTube videos, the camera which I used was basically my laptop camera, and that wasn't very good, to be honest. But for my audio, I used to always use my earphones for my audio. I used to have this red wire coming from my neck, because that was actually my earphone. So that was my audio, it was just my earphone, and it was very bad audio. Like my earphones were very bad, and it was all processed in OBS Studio essentially. And I also use my phone microphone sometimes. I use this app called Voice Record Pro on my phone, which is actually quite good to record audio. And I also use my phone camera whenever I'm going outside. So if I want to record something outside, I'll just use my phone camera to record that, because it's much simpler, and your phone cameras are honestly very good. And now, like after I get all my videos and stuff like that, it's now time for me to edit. And I edit with Lightworks. Now this is a fantastic app. I've been using it ever since I started YouTube. And like the reason why I use Lightworks is because it's free. That is literally why I use Lightworks. But it's also like fantastic for beginners, and it's very easy to learn. And there's a lot of YouTube videos to help you as well. Like I didn't have any knowledge of Lightworks, but I just trial and error, and I just watch other YouTube videos for help essentially to learn about Lightworks. And it's not that hard to learn essentially. It just takes time, but you'll definitely get used to it, and it's quite fun actually to edit with Lightworks. Editing takes the most amount of time, but it's definitely fun. And I've made about like 80 videos I think now, and there's a lot of stuff which I actually learned. Like even my camera stand, since it was from my sister's, I actually thought it was bad and stuff like that, because it was very hard for me to actually move it up and down. But that is because I didn't know you could actually loosen that thing, so it'd be easier for it to move up and down. But like for the first like maybe 6 months of making YouTube videos, I actually thought you had to use so much strength to actually move it up and down. And I think by just like keep on making videos, you really like learn a lot of stuff, and you can really be better in a lot of things. So just keep on making videos and you'll be fine like in the future. You know, not every video will get better and better and all that, but by just making videos, you'll start to understand how to make this small stuff even better, and you'll start to be better overall essentially. And now let me talk about how I make my YouTube thumbnails. I think for like my first 60 YouTube videos, how I made my thumbnails was basically just recording a video of me making a couple of poses, and essentially I'll just use the app Snip and Sketch to just take a picture of one of those poses, and that was it essentially. But I've always known that those pictures did get quite blurry, because when you take like an individual frame for a video, I think it'll always be blurrier than just taking a proper picture, because like videos are still tons of pictures like just joined together. I never took a proper picture because I don't have anyone else to actually like press the button to take a picture. Like now I realize I can actually like set a timer on my camera. So essentially I'll set a timer and I'll just pose before the timer ends, and like once the picture is taken, it would really have captured my pose, and that would be a much clearer picture essentially. And after I take the picture, I would then like put it into Canva, and like I would then like edit my picture with like contrast and like saturation and all of that stuff in Canva. So make it a bit more appealing and stuff like that. But I think professional YouTubers actually use Photoshop, but I don't use Photoshop because you kind of have to pay for that as well. Honestly, you just learn a lot of stuff by just making YouTube videos. I think like making YouTube videos like somewhat makes you become a confident speaker in some way. And honestly, like since you're making YouTube videos, you have to think of all of these ideas, and it takes time for you to think of ideas. But like once you get an idea and you just write out the points, it's really like just a nice creative outlet for you. And like just editing videos and like just making YouTube videos by itself, it's a nice creative experience that you're going on, and it's a very nice creative outlet essentially. And it literally took me like 60 videos to understand how my camera stand actually works. And it took me 60 videos before I actually bought a proper microphone, essentially. And I might even change my camera. I might even get a Rode microphone in the future. But like I think by just like continue making videos, you just start to understand automatically like how to make it better, essentially. And it's all just part of the process, essentially. It just takes time. So like if you're feeling like your videos are not very nice and all that, and it's getting tough for you, that is completely normal. By just continue making videos, you start to become better, essentially. And like one last thing, there's a lot of times where I just say to myself, oh crap, I could have made this video much better. I could have like edited it much better and stuff like that. And I always feel bad like realizing that I could have made this YouTube video better and stuff like that. But I just want to say that no one knows actually how to make a perfect video. Just make a video which you think is kind of okay and just go on with it. And just continue making videos and stop worrying, essentially. Alright. That's it for this video, and thank you for watching. Goodbye.